In this problem, we will be given an arithmetic expression like the one shown here. Our job is to rewrite any and all subtraction within the problem as addition in symbolic form. The last thing we'll be doing is evaluating our expression, but in order to evaluate our expression, we'll be following several lines of directions. Also note, when we rewrite the problem using addition, we need to place all negative numbers in parentheses. Notice, however, you do not have to use parentheses around any negative numbers after the first part of the problem. So for example, when you rewrite any of the subtraction in the first algebraic expression as addition, you would need to put parentheses around any negative number here, but you do not need to put parentheses around any negative number in the last three answer boxes. So let's look at this arithmetic expression. I notice that there's subtraction right here and subtraction right here, and I need to rewrite those two subtraction operations as addition. So to do that, I'm going to copy the two. I'll change the subtraction operation to addition, but when you do that, you need to change the sign on the number that you're subtracting. So it's a -5, I will change it to a +5. Then I have subtract 9. If you want to write subtraction of 9 using addition, you can think of subtracting 9 as that you're adding a -9. It turns out that adding a -9 is equivalent to subtracting 9. So I'm done with this part of the expression. This is already addition, so I need only copy the addition of -9. And as the directions stated, all my negative numbers are written with parentheses. So back in Math AS, I would type just that. 2 plus 5, and then we wrote subtraction of 9 is adding a -9, so this is where you have to make sure that you put parentheses around your negative number, and then I'm just going to copy the last part of the expression, which says plus -9, and this is how you would write your answer for that problem. Now it says what is the sum of the positive numbers, what is the sum of the negative numbers, and then find the total sum. When we write our answers here, it is not necessary to put parentheses around any answers that are negative. So for this part of the problem, it says what is the sum of the positive numbers? And my positive numbers are 2 and 5. So all of the numbers are being summed together, but for this part we only want to focus on the positive ones. So if you take the 2 and the 5, the sum of those would be 7. Then it says, what is the sum of the negative numbers? So we're going to add the positive numbers separately than the negative numbers. So here is my first negative number, and here is my second negative number. If I was to sum my negative numbers, -9 summed with -9 is -18. Now it says to add your last two answers to find the combined sum. So by adding these two answers, it's the equivalent of adding all four terms of the original problem. We're just doing it in steps where we add the positives first, then the negatives, and then take those two results and find that combined sum. So we're taking 7 and we're adding it to -18. And if you were to do that, you would get -11, so that would be the total sum. This is to show if ever you have a string of several numbers and the operations are all addition, that is oftentimes easier to sum the positive results separately than the summing of the negative results, and then you would take those two answers and add them at the end. This may seem longer when you're first getting used to it, but it is a good strategy, especially if you have lots of numbers to add together. Back in Math AS, we found the sum of the positive numbers to be 7, the sum of the negative numbers to be -18, and remember you do not need parentheses around negative answers for the last three answer boxes, only the first. And then we found the total sum to be -11. Let's do one more example. Let's look at the next question here. The directions are the same. We're going to change all of the operations of subtraction, which is here, here, and here, to addition problems. So I'm going to copy the 9, change the first subtraction to addition. This only works if you change the sign on the number that you were subtracting. It was a -7. I would change it to +7. My second operation of subtraction, we were subtracting 8. Subtracting 8 can be thought of as you're adding a negative 8. My third subtraction was subtracting 3. I will think of subtracting 3 as adding a negative 3. And then finally, this operation need not be changed because it's already addition, so I would just copy the plus 7. Just as in the last example I worked out, the sum of the positive numbers would be to focus your attention only on the 9, the 7, and this 7, as those are the numbers in my expression that are positive. 9 plus 7 plus 7 is 23. Now I sum the negative numbers. Because they're all negative, I can think of it as I'm just adding 8 and 3. 8 and 3 is 11, but because they were negative, they should sum to a negative result. This is the advantage of having all of your operations as addition and doing them separately. No part of the problem has me adding a positive with a negative. In fact, even when I added the negative numbers, I thought of it as just I'm adding 8 and 3 to get 11, and then I just noticed that they were negative to start with, so the answer should have been negative. Now, the combined sum, meaning the total sum, would be if you were to take 23 and add a negative 11, so you'll only be adding a positive and a negative number one time during the problem, and if you take 23 and you add negative 11, you get 12. So back in Math AS, this would be written as 9 plus 7. The subtraction of 8 we rewrote as addition of negative 8. We changed the subtraction of 3 to adding a negative 3. And notice that I'm putting my negative numbers in parentheses. And then we had a plus 7 at the end. When we added the positive numbers together, we got 23. When we added the negative numbers together, we got negative 11. And our final sum was positive 12. Notice that even though I had to put any negative numbers in parentheses in the first answer box, I need not do that afterwards. I'm going to submit my answer, but notice that I left several problems blank, so those will be marked wrong automatically. So the ones I left blank are wrong, but notice the ones that I worked out, I received full credit on all parts.